has already walked our path, and he wants to walk it with us now so that he can lead us into new ways of real living. Jesus is the one who touches the hearts of even the hardest and most sharpest Scrooge. How many people, how many of you, through painful awakening, have come to the point of recognizing the Scrooge that you have become? At the cost of a painful encounter with the truth in our own lives, we look into a certain mirror and we see the stiff, inflexible Scrooge that we have become. And at the same time, in that terrible recognition, we also feel and we recognize within ourselves the possibility of a more angelic, a more humane self within ourselves that might still come forth and live. And that new person, still trapped in Scrooge's old clothing, struggles to be free and to show forth the kindly spirit that at the same time is still constrained and too shy to shine forth on its own. Ebenezer Scrooge had been a clutching, grasping, scraping, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint. But on Christmas morning, after going through this same kind of loving revelation from heaven, Scrooge awoke from his baptismal sleep, as light as a feather, as merry as a schoolboy, as drunken as a drunken man, in fact, feeling quite like a baby. And Scrooge pledged to the spirit of Christmas yet to come, I will honor Christmas in my heart every day and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. And the spirits of all three shall strive within me, and I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Later on that same Christmas day, Scrooge spoke to his nephew Fred in a moment of wistful yet serene regret when he said, "May God forgive me for the time I've lost." And on the next day then, Scrooge said to Bob Cratchit, "That's what I'll do. I'll raise your salary and I'll assist your struggling family." What Christmas wisdom had Scrooge acquired which allowed him to resist the inertia of his old habits and overcome the world's temptation to return to the old routine and the old ways? You know, as that Christmas season faded, I wonder, how did Scrooge fare when the story was over in the increasingly callous climate of the post-holiday world of everyday business and commerce? What Christmas wisdom was it that inspired Scrooge and can inspire us so that we do not fall back into the old ways? You know, when Scrooge awakened from his fearful vision of his own neglected grave, he saw his own bed. The bed was his own, the room was his own, but best of all, he believed, the time was his own to make amends in. Forced to confront his old past, forced by the ghost to feel the pain of his own mistakes, a pain that Scrooge had heretofore denied, now Scrooge just let himself feel again. I don't know what to do, cried Scrooge, laughing and crying at the same time, because for the first time in years, Scrooge was allowing himself to be vulnerable again, and he rejoiced in his own vulnerable self. I don't know what day of the month it is. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know anything. I am quite like a newborn baby. Never mind. I don't care. I'd rather be like a newborn baby. Hello. Hello. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. A Happy New Year to everyone. In the dark night, in the shadows of our souls. A dazzling new light is appearing and shining. And our darkness, the darkness of our past, the darkness of our failures, the darkness of our shames and fears cannot overcome it. And in the light of the new day, the mysterious power that works grace and faith in the darkness can be tested and tried out by us in the performance of love in the new day, every single day. When Scrooge ventured out into the busy streets, Scrooge regarded everyone in what for him was a new way with a delightful smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant for a change that 3 or 4 gentlemen, total strangers, felt comfortable enough to approach him and say to him, "Good morning, sir, a Merry Christmas to you." And when Scrooge met those whom he had injured, in spite of the painful pangs of the past, Scrooge knew the path he had to follow, and he took it, walking straight ahead and acting out the part of the new person that he was becoming. He acknowledged the mistakes of his past, he offered his amends to those whom he had hurt, and he asked for pardon. And then he moved ahead, no longer paralyzed and chained by shame, but trustingly making his own dash day by day toward the goal of full and authentic joy. The man who once had edged his way along the crowded paths of life, warning all human sympathy to keep its distance, now joined with the human family. And you know, if other people laughed at the change that happened in him, Scrooge understood their skepticism, and he took no offense. Rather, he allowed them to go their own way freely, no longer dependent on their approval. Scrooge let his own heart laugh, and that was quite enough for him. He laughed and he cried in the same breath. And from that day on, said Dickens, Scrooge lived by the total abstinence principle. Now that was a 19th century equivalent to both traditional intentional Christian piety and to the 20th century modern self-reflective 12-step program.